What's going on, y'all? BlueFalcon here, coming to you with another video. So it's been a long time coming, but as I've promised, I'm here with the next music video in this music series. All right. So as you can see on the board, this is gonna be rhythm part one. All right, numero uno. Now, first things first, I'm gonna just go over a quick definition of rhythm. I've already done it in, I believe, music lesson number one, but just in case, because it's been a while, so just to refresh your memory, rhythm means duration of sounds and silences. Again, duration of sounds and silences, meaning how long or how short you play your notes. All right, and let me put emphasis on silence. All right, because the silence, meaning the breaks within how you produce sounds, is just as equally as important as the sounds that you actually produce itself. Now, here's one thing I really want to point out to you, right? And you guys probably remember I did this example before, but just to show you the difference, right? If I play something as simple as this, right? And just in case you didn't see when I did it the first time, you're probably thinking, that doesn't really sound like anything, right? It doesn't really sound like music. Okay, now I'm gonna play the same exact notes, but this time I'm gonna alter the rhythm, right? Right? And we probably all know that's Joy to the World, right? Cool. Now, why am I using such an elementary song? I'm trying to show you the importance of rhythm. I could play the same exact notes, but if I change how I play the notes, again, how I play the notes, that's so important to your overall musicality and overall how people is going to perceive your musicianship. So again, please guys, do not take this study for granted. It's extremely important. But I do want to bring forth to you just some basic elementary things, all right? So within music, we have certain notes that we're going to play, right? Now, this note right here is what's called a whole note. Okay, so it's a circle and it's blank. The circle is white, if you want to call it that, or it's blank, as you would see, right? The second note that we have here is also a white circle, but notice it has what's called a stem. Okay, it has a stem, and this is called the head of the note. Okay, so you have the head and you have the stem. It is also white. Now, this third note, I should have colored this in, but essentially it looks just as the second note, but this time it's colored in. When you read in music paper, the color would be black, all right? But it looks just like the second note, but it's colored in, and it also has a stem. Now you'll see, notice that on the board I have put equal, and I left it blank. And then there's now what we call our rest, all right? So when you have a line, right? When you have a line, and I should have had to color this in, but when you have a line, and then you have like this black box hanging down below it, that's what's called a whole rest. All right, so let me put this over here just so that you guys can see it. Whole, right? This is half, and this is a quarter. And I'm going to explain that all to you in further detail as the video goes on. This right here, again, if you see a line and you see a box hanging below that line, that's a whole rest. All right, so this is a whole as well. Now, if you see a line and you see a box hanging above the line, that's a half rest. And last, if you see like this squiggly line right here, that's called a quarter rest. Now, one thing, sometimes, a lot of times students tend to forget what's the difference between the whole and the half? The best way I like to think about it is that if you look at this one where the box is hanging above the line, notice it kind of looks like a hat. And if you could probably zoom in if you like to see it closer, but it looks kind of like a hat. So think of it, hat, half, right? It both starts with the letter H. That's a good way for you to try to remember it, all right? But essentially, that's what it is. Now, remember I told you, if you're good at math, you're most likely going to be very good in music and vice versa, all right? But you don't worry, you don't need no calculus level math. You don't need to know, physics and all this other stuff. No. It's just basic elementary math. If you know how to count your paper, count your money, you should be good, all right? So this is a whole. Now, I must address something before I continue. In music, there's a thing called a time signature, okay? Now, I'm probably going to put an image up on the screen for you to see it. But essentially, a time signature, it just indicates to you in what's the time of our music. That's just me putting it in layman's terms, okay? Now, the thing that is important, on the other hand, if I may show you, is this. Let's assume that we're playing in the time signature of 4/4, right? And you've probably seen this before. It looks like a fraction, right? Now, the top number, right, the numerator tells you how many beats per measure. The top number, the numerator, tells you how many beats per measure. The bottom number tells you which note takes the value of the beat. Again, the bottom number, the denominator, tells you what note takes the value of the beat. I'm going to explain all of this later on, right? But in short, a beat is nothing more, a lot of times back in the days we used to say, oh man, that beat is dope. Oh, that beat is, and truth be told, the beat is a lot more simpler than that, all right? A beat is literally as simple as this. That's literally the beat. You hear that? Now, I'm probably going to slow it down. And that is literally a beat. I know, doesn't sound interesting. So we were actually complicating it way more than we needed to. But a beat is literally just a steady pulse. That's all a beat is, guys. I know, not too fancy, right? What we're gonna find out is that back in the day when we were saying that beat is dope, what we probably really meant is that the rhythm, right? The rhythm was dope. Again, we're gonna get into that, all right? But it's just a steady beat. So why is this important? Because again, you need to understand the beat because, as I said before, the numerator tells you how many beats per measure. So in the case of a 4/4 time signature, that means there will be 4 beats per measure. All right? Now, the bottom note tells you that what note takes the value of the beat, and because you see a 4 here, that means that's a quarter note, which is denoted right here. That's the quarter, this is the quarter rest. With that being said, now we can get into the values, right? How many beats does this take? So if this is a whole note, that means within a given measure, you're going to be playing this only once because it's going to take the whole measure. And we already know that the top number tells us that there's only 4 beats per measure. So this has the value of 4. This has the value of 4 beats within the context of 4/4. All right? Now, I put the equal sign after the 4, showing you that if you see this whole note, that also tells you that you must rest for 4 beats. And again, the beat is just a steady pulse. So if you were to count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's how long you should either be playing your note or that's how long you should be resting. Half note. Now, if you're good at math, you would understand that a half is obviously half of the whole. So if the whole is 4 beats, that means the half What's half of 4? 2. Right, exactly. So you have 2 beats. And again, the half rest also would have a value of 2 beats. All right. Now last, a quarter, right? Just like in money, you need 4 quarters to make a whole dollar, right? So therefore, if just assuming that the whole, right, is 4 beats, which it does, that means the quarter, you need 4 of them to equal this whole, right? So therefore, the quarter note is only worth 1 beat. And then conversely, you have the quarter rest, which is also 1 beat. Now, there are several other notes, like there's the 8th note. I'm probably going to go deeper into it in part 2. But for the sake of this lesson, I just want to keep it real short and to the point that essentially this is how you would play these notes and play these rests, okay? Now, one thing that's extremely important in rhythm, right? I want you to all take out your instruments, all right? Whether you play piano, whether you play saxophone, whether you play guitar, bass, whatever. Even if you're a singer, you're gonna take out your notes, and now we're gonna play some things together, okay? Now, here's what I want you guys all to understand. I want you to understand that if we are playing these right, first off, in order to even play it right, you need to practice with a metronome. You got to practice with your metronome. Now, back in the day when smartphones wasn't so readily available, that cost me some extra to actually buy a metronome. Nowadays, you can just get the app, free apps that have a metronome. So I'll leave that up to you. You can choose whatever app you want. But get the app and then play along with the metronome. It will be boring. I'm letting you guys know this now. It's going to be boring, but it is going to be absolutely crucial if you actually want to progress moving forward in your musicianship. Don't skip these steps. All right? Now, let's get into this program called Logic. Now, the reason why we're going to go into Logic is because I really want to show you something, right? Again, if you're playing these notes the proper way, that means as I'm playing, I should be producing my intended and desired note. So, for example, right, we're going to listen to this metronome. Right? Now, you guys, I'm sure you all can hear this metronome going on, right? Let me pause it real quick. You can all hear this metronome going on. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to play alongside this metronome. Let's all choose the letter C. Now, for you piano players, you should already know what C is because I've literally showed you how to find C. Matter of fact, truth be told, every musician here should know how to find C on the piano because I already said that I believe personally that you should at least invest in a piano. That should be the preliminary instrument at least you should start off with. You don't got to perfect it, but at least know some basic music theory because it will help you moving forward. Now, I'm going to play this metronome. Okay, you guys? You probably hear it in the background, okay? So try to pay attention to my voice while this is playing. I'm going to play C. Now, as I'm playing C, I want you guys to bear in mind that I'm trying to play a whole note. All right? Now, if I'm playing this correctly, look what I'm going to do. And I'm going to purposely mess up. I'm purposely going to mess up just so that you guys can see it for yourselves, what it's supposed to look like. All right, now let's stop. Let's try to analyze these notes on the bottom. Do you notice something? I said I'm trying to play a whole note, but notice what happened. If I played it correctly, how come those notes look like it's black? That's because I did not play a proper whole note. So again, what I actually did, if you were paying attention, is that I played a quarter note. I only held it for 1 beat. I need to produce this note over here All right, meaning that if I played it, it should have a white circle without no stem. Now I'm gonna play it the correct way. All right, so now look at the bottom. Notice what happened this time around. Notice the notes have it's a white circle and it has no stem. That is because I played a whole note. Now, what was going in my mind? I'm gonna tell you. In the when I'm counting in my mind, all right, you guys. So as the music is playing, because we in a 4/4 time signature, I'm always counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually gonna show you something as well. I want you to pay attention as well to my feet. As I'm counting, I'm always saying 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this is extremely important, you guys. I can't stress this out enough. Please tap your feet. Okay, you have to tap your feet. All right, please do it because it's gonna help you. I'm gonna show you one more time, and this time I'm gonna slow it down because I want you to pay attention to something, right? Because within every beat, there's what's called the downbeat and the upbeat. I'm gonna explain in further detail. All right, so notice my feet. I'm saying 1, 2, 3, 4. So the downbeat is when my feet is down, and as I hit the floor, that's when I count. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and mind you, if it's a steady beat, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Right? That doesn't make sense. No, it's steady. So it's always consistent. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the thing that's also important is that there's a thing called the upbeat. Now, when you're counting in music, what you're going to do is say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right? So, and I'm gonna show you something. Have you ever seen people actually coordinate music, right? The conductor, and he would be like this, right? Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, right? They all doing it. They all doing it, right? That's how important rhythm is. But again, I want you to just notice something. Look at my feet. Now we're gonna add the upbeat into it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right. So I hope that actually made sense for you guys. All right. So as I am playing the music, what I'm doing is 1 and 2 and 3, and imagine this is my feet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I'm counting that. So now let's play alongside the metronome. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and, right? That may have been kind of fast. I'll slow it down for some of you. And let's try it again. 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, it's that simple. Now let's see what happens as I'm counting out loud. If we're doing this the right way, the notes that we want should be the intended notes that we see on the note paper. All right, and I understand fully well that some of you may not even have logic, right? So how do you know? You may not be 100% perfect. We all humans, guys. So again, this is not for you to be like a machine and you're going to be playing it 100% perfect. But if you do this type of practice, your sense of timing will be as close to perfect as possible. But again, you cannot do that unless you're actually playing with a metronome. So again, I'm purposely gonna hold the note for 2 beats, and notice what you're gonna see, all right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all right? So did you notice that? Notice as I'm playing in counts of 2, for the exception of that second measure where apparently I guess they read it as a mistake. But it's all right. Again, it's trying to be as close as possible. What I really want to emphasize to you is that notice, for the most part, because I was counting in 2, lo and behold, what do we have? A white circle with a stem, right? We have a white circle with a stem. But again, that was not our desired note. We're looking for a whole note. So as you know, I need to hold it for 4 beats. All right, so I'm going to say in my mind, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So let's try one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, and notice, as you can see, we got 4 perfect whole notes. All right, there was no mistakes. Again, I understand fully well all of you may not have this program to see if you're playing it the right way, but try your best. Now, for those of you who might be playing trumpet or saxophone, like you can't count while you're playing the note, right? I get it. What I am trying to just tell you though is that in your mind, there needs to be some sense of keeping track of the time, right? So whether it be counting or whether it be tapping your feet, keep track of your tempo, keep track of your time, all right? You need to keep track of this steady beat so that you can play your notes properly. I'm gonna end it off here because again, in part 2, we're gonna go deeper into rhythm. But here's what I would like you to do for homework. What I would like you all to do is to play around with the metronome. I want you to play whole notes for 4 measures, right? And try your best to record yourself. Record yourself with a metronome, and then when you listen and play back to yourself and you're counting out loud, right, what you're playing, are you actually holding out the notes? Are you actually holding out the notes for the intended amount? For example, if you're playing a whole note and you're listening back to this recording and you're counting while you're listening to the recording, you realize that you actually did not hold that whole note for 4 beats. You actually held it for 3 beats. Then you know, okay, maybe you need some work on your rhythm. Does that make sense? Anyway, with that being said, I want you to do that 4 measures, right? And just in case I didn't make it clear, let's actually analyze this one more time, right? A measure is none other than these 2 bars right here, right? These 2 bars, okay, guys? And these have 5 lines. You can see it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It has 5 lines, and it has 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all you pretty much need to do is understand that within each measure, there's 4 beats, right? And that's the reason why, as I was playing it, you'll notice that I created a perfect whole note. All right. So what I want you to do, the same way you see here that I have 4 whole notes, I want you as well to produce 4 whole notes. I want you to play 4 measures of half notes, right? And I want you to tell me actually how many half notes should be present within 4 measures. And then last, I want you to play 4 measures of quarter notes. And then I want you to tell me how many quarter notes was present within the 4 measures. If you answer those questions correctly, then you clearly understand this aspect of rhythm, and we're going to jump into the next one. Anyway, with that being said, you got BlueFalcon over and out. Jesus is king, y'all.
Game to win. Game hard.